too often when people are talking about parenthood and sometimes successful individuals, they don't mention their dad. It's on very, very few occasions that you hear, even, like famous athletes and people who have accomplished much, they always give a lot of homage, if you please, to their mothers. But guess what? They got dads, and dads are important because dad is 50% of the reason that the person is living. However, in some instances, I'm pleased to say that I have seen situations and instances wherein fathers are mentioned. And there are some fathers who play a significant role in the development of their kids. Matter of fact, I got two in the room with me today. I got Trace Cron, who's the father of three, and they're all doing well, and he's extremely involved in their lives. And I got my guest today in the person of Mr. Clarence Thomas, who is a phenomenal dad and who wrote an article in the Middle Georgia Informer about the importance of fatherhood and what he has done in the lives of his children, yes, to make sure that they are successful, and I know that it's greatly appreciated. And his involvement in his children's lives have produced meaningful results. As a matter of fact, one of his sons is an artist, and I'm sure that he'll let you know what the other, how many more you got?
Got two more.
The other two, the two are done. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham, and I'm more than a little pleased today to have with me a young man in the person of Mr. Clarence Thomas, who is not only involved in the life of his children, but he's involved in the community, in his job, and in his business. Fine young man, and I'm just happy to be able to interview him today. So tell us a little bit about yourself generally.
Yes, sir. Thank you, first of all, Alex, for that kind opening. And the feeling is mutual, as always. You know that. But hey, I'm a homeboy. I was born and reared here in Macon, Georgia. Born to Clarence Woodall Thomas Sr. and former Barbara Ann Durham, who became Barbara Ann Thomas eventually, and came up in Bibb County Public Schools. 81 graduate of D Central High School.
D Central.
And transitioned out of Central High School and went straight to basic training and military training school right after that, and became a supply specialist in the U.S. Army Reserve.
Thanks for serving.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and I think likewise.
No,
am I right? No, okay, okay. But thank you for serving in the capacity you do serve in. But thank you. It was an honor to do it. But also attended Savannah State University. And
I'm familiar with that.
You familiar with that? Very familiar with that, because you also are a Tiger as well. But I attended Savannah State University and was also Army Reservist simultaneously at the same time. And graduated in 1986. So was in the inaugural class of Savannah State University's Mass Communications program.
Wow.
Which is also a big deal. That's huge. And eventually wound up working in TV news initially after graduating from Savannah State in 1986. Worked for the CBS affiliate in Savannah. Started out as a TV cameraman and left that station as a chief photographer. Went to the CBS affiliate in Charlotte. Worked as a staff photographer there, and since then been at it now as a communicator in various capacities since that time, doing everything from writing to public relations to event planning and all things communications related.
And at one point you were the communications for the mayor, right?
That's exactly correct. Had the honor and the privilege to make history twice, both serving as the Honorable Mayor C. Jack Ellis's communications director from 01 to 03, 2001 to 2003, which was my first county job, and also presenting some of the initiatives as his first communications director, true communications director for the city of Macon at that time, and also introduced and rolled out Info Macon. You probably remember Info Macon. Info Macon was a legal organ for the city to get out information about what we were doing with the city. It was a true newspaper, and it was a platform of information for the public to see their tax dollars at work. But since then, transitioned over to Parks and Recreation full time in '03, which is where I've been since then, and launched my business, Visionary Communications, in '03 when I left the mayor's office at that time.
That's outstanding. You do an outstanding job too.
Thank you, sir.
You got the training, etc. to do it. Well, this is June. We're in the month of June, and although Father's Day is June, I don't remember the date. I know that the day is the 13th. Thursday is the 14th.
I think it's the 17th.
Okay, thank you, man. Father's Day is June 17th. And the reason that's not significant is that every day ought to be Father's Day. But then we're going to use the month of June, although it's June the 17th. We're going to say that we're going to have a focus on fathers.
Come on.
For June.
Come on.
And then this conversation really is generated, was generated by your article in the Informer talking about fatherhood. So I want you to be just as personal as you can and talk about, because first of all, let me say that you are a phenomenal father.
Thank you.
And that you've done a good job, and there have been successes on the part of your children that are attributable to what you have done as a dad.
Yes, sir.
And I want to congratulate you, and I want to congratulate their kids for being teachable.
Thank you.
You know, and doing what their dad says. So talk about your relationship with your kids, your vision as a visionary, your vision as it relates to what the father should do and does, and some of the specific things.
Right.
You know, because what I want to do, I don't just want to acknowledge, you and what you've done, but I hope that there are some other dads, even ones who are not dealing with their kids right now.
Yes, sir.
Out there who can glean something and receive some kind of motivation from you to be better dads.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, I'll say that for me personally, being a father is one of the highest honors that has ever been bestowed upon me. It was something that I was desirous of and that I wanted to do. And their mother, Yvette, honored me and blessed me with these children.
3 of them.
3 of them, to be exact. There's Imani, age 7, and then there's Assad, who's age 19, and then we have Hashim, the oldest, and he's 24, just turned 24 on June 4th. And it's been an amazing journey, man. It's been an amazing journey, and to have that reciprocated, what you give to them and what you put into them, and to have it given back to you in the form of all the things you're watching them do that's positive and beautiful, and that you hear about them in your absence, which is important to me. It's very important that I hear good things about them, because I'm not always in their company. And so that's how they've been raised and reared, to represent.
Yes, sir.
And that's how, as we say it, around the way.
Yeah.
Because it's so much bigger than them, what they do. There's a lot at stake there. They have the family reputation at stake. They have the history of their people at stake. And they have the people in this community that have helped rear them as a villager.
Yes, sir.
That they have to make sure that they don't betray that trust of those expectations of them. Are they perfect? They are not. They fall down just as their dad does occasionally. But the article that I wrote in this month's edition of the June edition of the Middle Georgia Informer, it was asking me to write it by our publisher, Cornelia Walker. And when she asked me to do it, I immediately embraced the opportunity. But what was I going to say in it? What was I going to express in that article? And I talked to the Most High, and I said, hey, just use me and allow me to express what's really in my heart and on my mind all the time about fatherhood. And that is that for me, it's an interactive process. And when I say interactive, I mean getting there in there, man, and getting your hands dirty. I mean, from birth to the little league games, to the graduations, to the times when they fall and they scrape their knees, and the list goes on and on. But being there for them and being there to help them and assist them intimately, if you have the opportunity to do it. And I feel that if you do, you have the health and strength, you have access, then you're obligated, because it's an extension of nature. If you look at nature, everything in nature takes care of its own naturally.
Yes.
And it is a two-parent process. It may be for a little while, or it may be for a long while, but certainly we shouldn't be allowing, as fathers, nature, the lower animals, to do greater or better than us. I'm just not having that.
Yeah. Well, that's very, very important. And we're going to take a break, and then we're going to talk specifically about, points to a dad. You know what I'm saying? We're going to let you give pointers on what it takes to be a good dad based on your experience. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Tapish. I'm interviewing a friend of mine, Mr. Clarence Woodall Thomas, owner of Visionary Communications, amongst other things. And we're happy to have him. We're talking just about fatherhood and the role of the male, if you please, in the development of our young people. But let's give some pointers, if you would, to dads out there on, tips on being a successful father.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the primary thing is that you got to have it, or you got to develop a desire to be in their lives and to be a part of what they're doing. I think that's essential. That's the foundation, actually, because you're going to have some dads who are going to embrace it, or they're going to run from it. And if you run from it, you may miss a grand opportunity. So once you embrace it and accept it, I think that's the number one thing. Once you do that. For me, and what I would say would be, just committing yourself to being there for them as much and as often as possible, because that's the expectation that they have, and so you don't want to belie what their expectations are. You don't want to go counter to what their expectations are, and then thirdly, I would say, when you're there. Really, I can't reiterate it enough. Be there for real. I mean, be engaged. I've fallen off a bit in that way with my older children, I must admit. But even so, at 19 and 24, there are times when, okay, I got to be there for these guys. I just got to be there for them. And I'll cite some examples of that in just a few minutes. But certainly with the 7-year-old girl, the boss lady. I mean, I wouldn't get any peace if I wasn't there for her.
The boss lady.
Oh my goodness, Imani will definitely remind me that you supposed to have been there. You should have been there. And lastly, I would say, just try. And if it doesn't fulfill your expectations, it won't be because of a lack of effort.
Right.
And you won't leave that opportunity either later on in life for your children to say, or to ask that question, where were you?
Yeah.
Where were you?
Yeah.
Why weren't you there? Why didn't you even try to be there? As I said, again, that's rooted in access and desire. If you got the desire and you got the access, then that's what you're obligated to do.
Right. Well, that's extremely important. Talk a little bit about the role of the male, because, we talk about mentoring, and you were a mentor in an organization that I founded. And then maybe there are some men out there whose kids are grown, and who like you, have done a role, but, there is still a need for male influence, if you please.
That's right.
in the lives of, our children, but particularly, let's get real up in here.
100.
Particularly
100.
young brothers,
Yes.
and talk a little bit about how maybe we can do some things for other young men in the community, to help project that father image, to make this a better place for all of us.
Yeah, I alluded to the village earlier.
You did.
Man, the village was so important for me coming up because in the absence of my parents, they were my parents.
Right.
And I don't even have time to talk about some of these folks, man, how amazing they were. You know many of them.
Yeah.
Because I lived right around the corner until I was 9 years old here downtown. The fact of the matter is that fathering can also extend beyond your biological and ought to extend beyond your biological, if you're a responsible, caring male. And I do it all the time. My full-time job is as a supervisor, center supervisor of Frank Johnson Recreation Center for Macon-Bibb County Department of Parks and Recreation. And all day, every day, I'm mentoring some child in some kind of way at that rec center. Now they're not my biological, but they're still our children.
Could you use any help? I want to interject that.
Yeah, I think we're okay for right now.
Okay.
But we do take volunteers.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, okay, yes, sir, absolutely. Yeah, we're always receptive to volunteers. The paid opportunities are a little limited.
No,
right
I
now,
don't mean paid. I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I know about the budget, man.
Right.
I know about, but I'm talking about if there are some individuals or groups or organizations out there
man.
who want to come in, or some individuals
That's it.
who want to come in, because you can't. I mean, if you had some help, if you had 4 or 5 guys every day to come in and be around and be there and help talk to those kids and pitch them a ball,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. We're very receptive to that, and they can do that at any of our rec centers.
Right.
And that's also a good segue to the fact that there are many ways in which you can be a father beyond your own personal biological children. You can volunteer in an organization, in some organizations. You might become a personal mentor to a child or a group of children. It doesn't have to necessarily be through an organization or a group. What about where you worship, the place where you worship? I mean, a lot of the places of worship have vehicles and platforms by which you can do that kind of outreach work. So you just have to, I would say, find out where you get in, where you fit in, and find that place and that platform in which you're comfortable with. Because I think the more comfortable you are, and the more at home and at ease you are, the more effective you're going to be as an extended father figure in a child's life.
Talk a little bit to those guys out there who have not been as involved, and who might think it's too late, or who are too ashamed to be involved. Let's give a few words for them.
Yeah, I would say don't be ashamed or don't be afraid. It's never too late, provided, again, that you have a desire and access.
I see you keep saying that.
I have to say that because there are some men that have an intense desire to be a good biological father or extended father, family person, but they just don't have access for varying reasons. They might be on lock, or they might be incapacitated, and the list goes on and on. But if you are blessed to be a man that has a desire and has access to your children and or the community's children, I would say definitely don't allow yourself to feel ashamed, or if you've just been voluntarily out of your child's life or the community's children's lives, it's never too late. It really isn't. And the first opportunity you get, take advantage of it. Take that step. I mean, really, truly, take that step, and you won't regret it. You really won't. I'm sitting here reflecting on some of the successes of my children in just the brief time that they've been on the planet. My 7-year-old daughter, for instance, she's a rising second grader at Sirius Academy, and also an aspiring ballerina. She made the AB honor roll this past year. I wouldn't have missed her getting that certificate for nothing, man, a couple of weeks ago. That's just one of a few things she's doing. She's in dance class right now this summer, dance camp at College Dance Theater. The 19-year-old, of course, he's an amazing, gifted artist and illustrator. And both my sons are Boy Scout of America, Eagle Scouts, I might add.
Wow.
And that was amazing within itself. That was
They're both Eagles.
both of them Eagle Scouts.
Wow,
Oh yeah,
man.
yeah. And with the help of their Scoutmaster, Mr. George Muhammad, and Troop 284, and all of the parents, and you know, and us, me, and their mom, we got them there. But aside, the middle child, he is a gifted artist. Did his first public mural at Frank Johnson. Did a time like
Let me
his
interrupt
life.
you for just a second.
Mhm.
Talk a little bit about scouting. You know, I think that that's something that we are missing. And I think that that might be a vehicle for those of us and for those parents and even the single parents, even the female-headed single parents of boys.
Yes.
You know, talk a little bit about, you know, how it could be advantageous to get them into scouting.
Yeah, scouting is amazing and it's very advantageous because what happens with scouting is because it allows a boy to connect with men and especially each other in platforms and vehicles that are natural for them. You're talking camping, and you're talking archery, and you're talking learning how to be able to become a master swimmer, and the list
Wow.
goes on and on. I mean, before, for instance, a child can be even qualified to be an Eagle Scout or to go for his Eagle Scout, he has to earn 21 merit badges. And some of those things are in agriculture, farming, technology, communications. So you're talking about a boy between the ages of 11 and 17 that has 21 skill sets before he can even go and try to do his Eagle Scout project. And it's very intensive. It's very involved. He's got to come up with his own project. He has to get it approved. He has to coordinate with the community and businesses and leadership,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
So that's what Boy Scout is all about. It's about fun, but it's also teaching them life skills and professional skills that they can transfer over into life and use, you know, in a very profound way, a prolific way.
Right.
Yeah. And earlier I was talking about the 19-year-old. He also, that mural project, his Boy Scout of America Eagle Scout project led to him being one of only 6 artists commissioned by the Macon Arts Alliance to be a part of their East-West Art Walk project downtown. And all of the work was temporary except for his. It's now up on the side of the old Tubman Museum on Walnut. You've probably seen the flying birds down there.
Right.
That's his work. That's his
Right.
work. And the 24-year-old is doing exceptionally well. He's out at Central Georgia Technical College working on becoming a master tech in the electrical field. So God is good. And I'm really, really happy, man, to know that as their dad, I actually had a hand in it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And if we got
That's a reward, isn't it?
It's huge,
yeah,
man. It really is. And, you know, I also say, and I don't know how much time we have left, but I'd be remiss.
Go ahead.
I'd be remiss if...
We got 2-3 minutes.
Okay. I'd be remiss if I didn't take a moment to thank my dad, whom I'm named after, Mr. Clarence Woodall Thomas Sr., who had his own struggles as a young man that I won't expound on, but he had a troubled young life. But when the opportunity presented itself along with my mom to get it right, he did. And that's the throwback to, and he made an incredible impact on my life and the life of my sister Tamara and the youngest Marcus, because he was there.
Yeah. So what you're saying though, even though you may have hit a bump, a stumbling block,
Yes.
you know, have had some misfortune for those of you who are out there.
That's right.
But it's not too late because your dad himself.
He's proof that it's not too late. He committed himself, and he got access. You know, in his early 20s, and it's been on and popping since then, man. You know, he's made mistakes along the way, like us all, but I'm really grateful and thankful for his being there and being a real man and being the foundation in my life for the measure of what a man really is. It was my dad that laid that foundation for me, and that I saw those 16, 17, 18 years living in our house every day.
Right.
And so I knew what a man really was and ought to be when it was my turn and my time.
Well, we don't want to. You got about 30 seconds to mention your wife and your mama. We don't want them throwing bricks at us.
This is true. This is absolutely
about fathers, you know, but
yes.
they too may have played a role in this thing.
Absolutely, they played a big role in that. You know, their mother Yvette has played an amazing role. They're very intimately involved and continues to be intimately involved in their life. And of course, their extended moms in the form of my mother and especially their grandmother Mary Burton, who resides in Millersville with their grandfather Charles.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Man, I really appreciate it.
Oh my goodness, man!
This
Thank
discussion
you.
on fatherhood and all of the things about family and things which are important
Absolutely.
to our well-being. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Havisham. Have it interviewed, the Super Dad, with two Eagle Scouts.
Okay, now.
Mr. Clarence.
For my cake, man.
Yeah, have a great day. We got an extra nugget for you. You know, we talked so much about fatherhood, which was really driven by this article that Brother Thomas wrote entitled Fathering, an Interactive Labor of Love. So what we're going to do, although he put it in words on paper, we're going to let him put it in words vocally. So would you honor us with the pleasure of listening to you read the article?
I'll be honored to do it. Webster's dictionary defines father as one who has begotten or sired a child. But being a father is much bigger in supplying one half of the biological material needed to create a physical being. Fathering is about being engaged in the rearing of that child. As the father of three wonderful children, Hashim, 23, Assad, 19, and Imani, 7, I speak from experience to the power, pleasure, and potential of interactively assisting their mother with the rearing of these people we co-created. Being there for children's births, first steps, youth sports games, dance recitals, graduations, or inquiries about life is exceptionally empowering to the dad and the child. These experiences create a sense of security in young ones as it develops a greater sense of responsibility in the father. In addition, a special bond takes place between fathers and their children when they immediately intimately interact. The nature of the father is to produce and protect. Producing requires being away at work, sometimes a lot and for long hours. And when returning, going into security mode as the head of the household responsible for the oversight of the entire family unit. As a result, children love it when dad lets his guard down to read them a book, help with homework, play a board game, or simply talk. Tracking my